Which of the 5 love languages describes you? Gifts, acts of service, quality of time, words of appreciation, or physical touch. It would be really hard for me to pick between quality of time and physical touch, but you let me know what yours is in the comments below and why. Hi, welcome to my channel. In the Good, I'm Kristen, and this is our weekly conversation around love and intimacy, of course. So let's see what the cards have to say. Let's see what insights want to come in. What validations do we need to have come through? What do we know in our hearts? What feelings do we need to trust? What lies beneath? What's hidden? What's lit up? What's coming more and more into the light? What do we need to know and talk about this week together? Romanticism. So what I'm feeling into here is, for some of you, there's this idealized idea of what being romantic with someone is, or the people around you, or society has ingrained in you this idea of what romanticism is. And if it doesn't look this way, or the person doesn't do this, or this could be being done to you, if you don't act in a certain way, then someone thinks that you're not romantic, or you don't have a certain feeling, or maybe you're putting certain ideas around it on someone. There feels like there's a breakthrough here around what is romantic. You know, it's like the love languages in a way. It's like maybe you've been kind of ingrained your whole life that it should be gift giving, right? Like you get this, or this person pays your bill, or they support you in a certain way, but really you want quality of time. Maybe you have a partner who travels a lot, and you know, all your friends around you are like, well, why would you want to get engaged to that person or have a life with that person? They're gone like half the week, or they have to travel for work all the time. But the quality of time, it fills your heart. It's the best time that you've had with anybody in your entire life. And it fills you so much that you feel fine to go about your week, and you trust them completely to be traveling. And it's not about spending 7 days a week together and the time isn't quality. So it's what ideas are we in the process of busting around what is romantic? And it can feel really strange, I think, when you've put a certain kind of thing, whether it be familial, generational, societal, the things around your friends, all that your friends think are so important, but you don't think is important. Waiting. This came up again. This came up last week, this waiting card. And I normally only take one of these cards, but I was compelled to do the second one, and it was this waiting. So there's a couple of things here. This is like, what are you waiting for in terms of letting go of the old BS stuff that doesn't resonate with you anymore when it comes to love, intimacy? What is romantic? Why are you allowing, a tradition that you don't even believe in or partake in to make you feel bad about yourself? You're totally fine. Now, another message coming through is that, for some of you, there's a relationship kind of brewing in the works that's percolating, that could be just have started or in process here. And you do have different ideas of what being romantic is. And, perhaps you're waiting for this person to catch on to what would be more fulfilling for you in the romantic area. Maybe they don't have this understanding of what you need or don't need. What's coming through is the episode of Sex and the City when Carrie is dating Alexander Petrovsky. So romantic, and the poetry and the music and the opera and the dinners and cooking and this, and it's almost too much for her because she's never experienced that before. And she actually has to tell him, and she feels bad, can we just move a little bit slow, on the romantic, and when he could listen to her and hear that and didn't get angry for, what do you mean? I'm doing all these things for you and you're not appreciative. He wasn't like that. He listened. And it was in that space that got opened up that she was able to actually accept and want more of these romantic gestures, or his idea of romance. So it's about this giving and this taking, and people don't know unless you tell them. And it's also accepting how other people want to be, romantic with you. It's like, what do you really need, and what are you willing to compromise and not compromise? Do you need a certain amount of communication every week? I was having a conversation with a mentor of mine and about this guy I was dating, and talking about wishing he would communicate a little bit more. And I had this thing, well, this should be the kind of communication that happens if you're into someone. And she just reminded me, for some people, only getting certain small bites of communication, that's what they want. Anything more would feel overwhelming to them, because we're all in different places. And, it depends on the person. If you're wanting someone to back off, that could be telling you something about how you really feel about them, about how intimate you want to get with them, or what your boundaries around them are. And are they listening to you? If you're resonating, give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. I'm new here on YouTube, and I want to thank all 162 of you that have subscribed. I love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With the Temperance card, it is about this balancing out, of your emotions. There's also something here in the Temperance and patience and waiting. What are you waiting for? Do you, how are you emotionally constricting yourself? So let's just take it down to you, because we can't control other people or what they do. We can only have our own perceptions of things. And if something is not vibing or jiving with you, then looking at the reality is going to be so much better in the end than sort of sitting around waiting to see if something shifts or changes. Coming out and speaking about what you want, about what your needs are. Even if you don't get the response you want right away, you're better off in the end. And it can be really scary. You see, it's about stepping, just the toe. You're on the ground and you're in your emotions. And it's being in your emotions around someone else and about someone else, and the vulnerability that brings up. Being in romantic relationship and intimacy, anything around intimacy is so vulnerable. But it is such ripe, fertile ground for personal growth, and for really being in discovery of ourselves and where we are and how much we've changed. I think we see that in intimate and romantic partnerships and the potential of them than almost in any other area of our lives. And with the world, you've been through many cycles of relationships, and having that wisdom and understanding and embracing what it is that you want. This also, it could be you've been through many seasons with someone, whatever stage the relationship is in, right? Because you could be in the beginning of a relationship with someone, but have known them for a long time. Or you could only have known them a short period of time, but have gone through many cycles emotionally or with them. For some of you, this is just someone that you've known a while. And it's been like the seasons of change. It's like, you've been through, the summer and the passion and the discovery of the passions between the two of you, and the blooming and of the flowers and seeing this romantic potential. You've been, through the fall where things seem to be shedding, going into this incubation stage, but not quite there yet. You're completely letting go of what you need to let go, and watching them do the same thing in their own way, but not interfering. Then there's the winter where there is, how are we nurturing ourselves in order to be prepared for intimate partnership? What has gone on in their lives? How have they transformed or in the process of transforming now? They're in the spring, what's to come? When you've planted the seeds, when you've done the work, when you've watched someone go through their own process and, do their own work. I mean, this is not also, I want to say, this is not sitting around waiting for someone to do their own spiritual work, their own personal growth work, their own personal healing. I mean, it's like, we can't be like, well, I know that when, they finally, I don't know, clear that up or clear this up or go through that grief or go, I mean, then everything is going to be great. Well, that absolutely may be true, that everything will be great when that happens, but you can't sit around waiting for that, right? You can't put a stick in the mud in your own lifestyle, in your own life cycle, but your own lifestyle. That's going to be, you can't sit around in the fantasy, right, of being overly romantic and like, well, we had this dinner, we had this night together, we had this time together, whenever we're together, it's like this, but then there's, this place where people are in their vulnerabilities, and it can be really interesting to discover how you are with somebody else and how for them to discover how they are with you, especially when people have gone through it, cycle after cycle after cycle of different kinds of relationships. And as we get older, there just have been things that haven't worked out as much, and even the most well-adjusted person can feel a little bit like they want to tread a little bit on water here, and it has nothing to do with you. Like anybody's, feeling like they're just stepping their toe in. They're stepping their toe in. They're going slow. That's not about you. Like divine timing and, is not about you or their process around their discovery about, romance and what they're willing to give is not about you. And it could be that somebody here is stuck in a cycle where they're afraid to be romantic or, it's like those romantic gestures can feel like commitment. And for some of you will resonate with having a conversation around just, what commitment means to you. And again, you're allowed to bust through your own ideas. It doesn't mean sacrificing something that's important to you. Like, don't sacrifice quality of time if quality of time means something to you. But also, can you be in discovery of what a relationship is with that person in this present moment, in each other's presence, without dictating or putting on, your own personal stuff, and noticing where they're putting on their past or personal stuff and having a conversation around that. Being honest, being vulnerable. With the High Priestess, you intuitively know that something is coming for you that is very, I want to say, dreamlike. It's what you've been dreaming of because you've been not afraid to, close out an old, a myriad of old cycles, a myriad of seasons around how you, what you have put up with in the past and what you're not willing to put up with now is coming out. But, also in knowing what you really want and getting clear and focused, it allows, what isn't as important to drop away and not become a big thing, I'm getting this memory 20 years ago of a friend of mine, and her boyfriend was coming to visit. We were all living in London, and she was just saying how, like, every 2 seconds they have to have the talk. Who wants that? Who wants to have the talk, constantly all the time? What are you waiting for and realizing that, that's not worth putting your patience and your time into? Keep going a little bit more. So taking away the restrictions on your heart with the Four of Pentacles in reverse. And to know that, you're okay to dive in because you've got yourself. Nine of Cups tells me that you're very self-sufficient, you're very sovereign, you have your own agency. And so we don't want to lose our own agency that we've created in our lives in our work lives, in our personal lives, with our friends, with ourselves, right? How our own personal agency around how we accept our own personal boundaries and how we want to live and our focus and our desires. And you don't have to, it's not about giving any of that up. And you get to decide what you want to share of your abundance at any given time. It doesn't have to be in order to be intimate and create intimacy, like you toss everything out, like right away. It can be in the steps that feel safe to you. But in wanting someone to accept our boundaries, we have to accept their boundaries as well. It can't be just, here are all my boundaries, and then you let me completely in, even though you've just signed divorce papers. It's understanding where a person is coming from. And and understanding if you don't want to wait for something, if you don't want to wait, then you don't have to wait. But you don't have to feel like you're giving something up. How about instead of giving something up, can you just be with something where it is right now and accepting it? And knowing that you can have a lot more options than you actually think that you have. Oh, this is so interesting because we just had the High Priestess. Where is she? She's somewhere, the High Priestess. And then, we have the High Priest, which is the Hierophant in this deck, the Witch's Tarot. And this feels like a couple. This feels like a couple is being created. And these are two highly intuitive people. One of the strengths of one of you is a deep sense of structure. Is ambition. But the ambition and the success, it can be structured around to some degree being in a place of service. So regardless of what this person, could be an accountant, a lawyer, or corporate, be a big high executive, but there's something that is about the service and about the commitment they have to themselves and to that service within their family, their community, their job. And I think you see that within them, and you see that, right, that potential for this kind of commitment, and you're looking towards how can that energy materialize in this relationship between the two of you. And there is a patience, a temperance, a titrating between, the dance between two people as they begin to discover intimacy emotionally and physically with each other. As you walk down a path of that intimacy, that that intellectual connection that's there, the physical connection, the emotional connection, psychological, and how sometimes it's a little bit more than the other, right? Sometimes we're a little bit more physical with each other. Sometimes we're in the middle of a great conversation, and how it all kind of, when you put it in one big cauldron, right? Because these are two very magical people. When you allow this cauldron and this soup, to come together in this big pot over time, and, it's got this, it's always simmering. It's always about keeping it simmering, but not getting it to the boil before it's ready. You don't want to burn it. And you also don't want it to go whoof and then peter right out. You want to be able to keep that simmer always there in the relationship. And so sometimes you might find that this, this waiting, as we always keep coming back to this in this reading, it's not being afraid of whatever is taking time and being slow, right? That you are this person who's got a lot to do with your life. And you can allow this to be where it's going to be. But, it's sort of like the masculine and the feminine here with the High Priestess. But this is definitely a couple. And with the Sword of Truth, it's recognizing your own personal truth. And as this relationship is coming together, as this slight simmer comes up and it begins to get hotter and hotter and hotter, that you're always being truthful to yourself, and you're allowing them to be truthful to you. And how inspirational that can be to each other when two people are being truthful to themselves and to each other. I'll leave it there. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having this time with me today. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in hanging out with me more. I would love to connect with you, become a part of the fam. Give me a thumbs up. There are meditations on the channel. I will be doing the zodiac reading starting February 1st. I'm going to try doing that once a week. They'll be in one long video so that you can look at your zodiac sign, your lover's zodiac placements, your mother's, your sister's, your brother's, all the things. And then we'll continue to do these intimacy and career readings. And I love you a lot. These readings are here for you whenever you need them, and I hope to see you often. Bye.